Okay, so today we have with us a girl who scored highest on the ATPA. I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, and today she's going to be joining us so she can give us some tips on how to get high scores ourselves. Please welcome Summer Miller.
Woo! Oh, 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 go Ellen, Ellen, go, go, go Ellen. Woo! Yeah! Woohoo!
Okay, so today we have a woman joining us who scored the highest on her ed TPAs, and she's going to be joining us to give us some tips on how we can get high scores ourselves. Please welcome Summer Miller.
Woo!
Summer Miller.
I'm here. Oh, that flight was crazy. That snow in Ohio it's pretty intense.
Well, I had no clue. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Okay. Future educators, take it from me. The TPA is tough, like really tough. I spent more than 2 months preparing, help from instructors and my cohorts, preparing my portfolio and myself for this rigorous process of teaching assessment. For weeks, I interpreted commentary and wrote and rewrote my work. I watched hours of myself teaching, nitpicking everything from my instruction to my body language. I spent days analyzing assessments and gathering data on which students had and hadn't reached their learning potential. While the TPA process was difficult, it was an invaluable step in my preparation as a teacher. I practiced connecting learning targets to assessments and criteria that would show student learning while providing quantitative and qualitative evidence to demonstrate a whole picture understanding of my classroom. Most importantly, I practiced analyzing and thinking critically about my instruction, something I will continue to do throughout my entire career.
Well, that's awesome. Tell us how important it is to cooperate with your cooperative teacher.
Oh my God, it is so important, so important. So for cooperating, that's my #1 tip in these next tips I'm going to give. She's your most valuable person, your resource. She's going to push for you. She's going to know the student's strengths, their weaknesses, and she's going to help you find those strengths and weaknesses and find the importance in your decision making to make sure to focus on those strengths and especially the weaknesses where they're going to need help with. And it's all about differentiating instruction, assessment. That teacher's going to make it possible for you to be able to do that.
Right. So when is it the right time to begin this process in the school year?
Right. So it's not necessarily like a day or a time. It's all about getting to know your students. You need to make sure to know them before you begin planning or teaching your TPA. Without knowing your students, you're not going to be able to do task 1, and you can't move on without that. You have to know an idea of what your students are like, not just the lesson you're going to teach.
Right. And how do you prepare for all of this?
Plan, plan, plan. The importance of planning is so big. This isn't something you can just procrastinate and wait till the last minute. It requires 3 to 5 lessons from a subject-specific learning segment, depending on what you're going into. So you don't have to feel like you have to create it from scratch. It's okay to get outside ideas, but you definitely need to adapt your students' needs into your lesson, because if you're not, then the central focus it won't work.
Right. And as I was reading a little bit about you, I saw that you wrote that you need to quantify and qualify. Now, what did you mean by that?
Right. So to include a mix of quantified and qualified evidence in your commentaries. So both types of evidence are extremely important. They're going to show your understanding of the classroom as a whole, as well as your students' various needs. So let me give you an example. Know the number of English learning language students in your class, or specify 21 out of 25 students are able to reduce fractions. Making that quantifiable background information that's relevant to students' learning is really important.
Right.
If you do this in advance, it's going to help collect evidence with the rest of the process.
Right, and I also read in your papers that I read that you needed commentary and prompts while videotaping. What did you mean by that?
Right, so knowing the prompts beforehand is going to help you plan the lessons that address the commentary topics and to generate additional evidence for your writing. So another example, think of ways to show how you establish a positive learning environment, how you consider the needs and wants of all your students, including their backgrounds, and how you engage in those students using the language functions of your lesson. Then, when it comes time to write, you'll already have evidence of how you did those things, rather than having to hunt for them and find them, which makes it a lot harder and a lot more time consuming when you already don't have the time to do it.
Right, and I know that you like to videotape and record yourself so you can watch yourself back. Do you like to record every time you teach or just certain things?
Right, so just because you have to have 2 or more or less 15-minute segments, record everything. Record all of the teaching you do, because you don't know if you're going to get what you need out of that specific segment. So if you have variety in all of them recorded, you're going to have what you need. You can go through and find. And it's also helpful to video yourself teaching before doing the actual TPA lesson.
Mm-hmm.
The more you're accustomed and your students are to cameras, the more it's going to feel natural. If you bring a camera in the first day of school, the kids are going to be staring at the camera wanting to make, some of them are going to be dancing like you do on your show.
Right. And some of the parents, I feel, might not be comfortable with having their students recorded, so how do you go about that?
Right, you do need to send out a videotaping permission form to families early. As soon as you get into that school, or if you're able to reach out and set it up early.
Right.
Because if they're not okay with it, you cannot use their student, and with that, they cannot come up in your video at all. Their name can't. But that doesn't mean you can just cut them out and cut, because the video segments are straight 15 minutes. You can't snip and cut in different areas.
Right. And I know it's kind of hard to act natural while you're on camera, so is there any way that you can practice, like interacting with kids before you actually start teaching them in a classroom?
Right, so one of the biggest things is to plan the seating arrangements and camera placement before videotaping. If you know where it's going to be and you know where the students are going to be, you're going to have an understanding of this is what's going to work and this isn't. And going off of that, focus on student interactions during videotaping. So if you're focusing on what they're doing during your videos, then you're going to understand when you go back and watch them, this is what I'm looking for. This is what they're doing well at or what they're struggling at.
Right.
So,
okay.
I hate to cut it short, guys, but my flight's going to take off.
I want you to get caught here and not have your flight take off, but it was so nice to have you here on the show. Thank you so much, Summer Miller. Everyone, Summer Miller.
Can I request one thing on the Ellen show?
What?
Let's groove together.
Okay.